I really think we have a possibility of getting surprised. I'm looking to see the contract.
Okay.
And it's changes.
Where'd Harley go? Did he leave? All right, 2 more minutes. 2 more.
Yeah.
Is Judge Zimmerman here? Oh, finance and budget will come to order. All right, I have a couple of items to add to the agenda. John Luther has a list of line item transfers that need to be added, and I would like to add that after Judge Zimmerman's line items and call it 6B. Also, Judge Zimmerman had an additional line items that needed to be transferred, and I'm going to call that 6A. 6A is her additional line items, and 6B will be John Luther's line item transfers. You have a list of both of these transfers. All right, do I have a motion to add these to the agenda? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Now, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with these additions? All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, treasurer's report. Bobby Hill.
Good evening, everybody. 3.1, treasurer summary. General fund, we got in from the October where you paid your personal property taxes, we got in 5.1 million in November for that. So that puts revenues 6.1 million over expenditures of 2.2. That's about one of only 3 months that you'll see the general fund with revenues over expenditures. And we ended with $12,300,000 in the bank. I'm hopeful this will be I think I've said this before and it didn't come true, but for the first time in a decade, it looks like the general fund may end the year with more money than it started, but we still have 3 weeks to go, so we'll see. Road and the jail fund, they about came out even for the month. 1.8 million is left in road and just under 900,000 in jail. If you look at the bottom of the page, 6,002 collectors unapportioned. Got a whole lot of money in it, 18,900,000. Some of that will be distributed this month for the final tax settlement, and the rest of it will go out probably the first 3 months of next year. And all totaled, general fund will get about 5 million of that 18 million once it's distributed. Bottom of the next page, ended the month with, I'm going to have to get readers, almost $47 million in the bank. 3.2, 1 cent sales tax. Another good month, 5.8% increase. It's $37,000 more than this same time last year. If you look at the bottom of that 2019 column, so far 7.2 million has come in. My projection was 7.7. So once we get December's in, we will easily make and surpass that projection. 3.3, the quarter-cent jail tax. The same percentage increase for the year. It's $290,000 more than 2018. And likewise, it will pass my projection for this year. Road tax, if I can turn the page. It did real well, over 9% increase, 146,000 come in for the year, and we're at 1.5 million for 2019.
That's gonna be over.
3.5 of the property taxes received in the general fund. So far this year, we're at 13,427,000. My projection's 14.2. Our December final settlement will probably be around $1 million, maybe a little more. So that'll surpass that projection. And this 4.1 is the insurance report. Nelson is sick tonight, so he told me to just put this in front of you. The beginning and ending balance was right around 3 million. Right now, currently, we're at 2.9 million, but everything looks good going into 2020 for the employee insurance. And that's all I have.
All right. Anyone have any questions? Revenue really looks good. This is the first time in a long time that we've been over expenditures, so.
Oh, one more thing, and here in a little bit, the ordinance for the road will come up. They're gonna be short of money. They're not short of cash money. They're short on their budget money, so just wanna make that clear.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, correct.
All right. Controllers report. Shannon Worthen.
5.1 is unappropriated reserve balance report, and the ordinances that affected the reserves is shown there in the explanation column. And we ended with general fund at 4.1 million, less the projection for the jail. Leaves net general at about 3.1 million. And then 5.2, 11 months through, we should be at about 92%. And the overall for general fund was at 85.5%. And that's shown over on page 12. And then for all the budget funds, it's shown on page 17 at 85.5%. And that's all I have.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your last comment. You said page 17?
Yes, page 17, the percentage spent for all the funds in the county, it was at 85.5%.
Okay. Are there any questions? Thank you. All right, we have line item transfers. Judge Zimmerman. 6.1, and also the new line items. We'll just do them
Yes, ma'am.
both.
Sorry. Okay. I apologize, Judge Zimmerman could not be here today. The first request that was submitted, under the comment section, I tried to be as detailed as possible. We primarily need to move money from the line item 3070 to other professional services. At the beginning of the year, we budgeted $18,000 under line item 3070, but it turns out that the invoice from the Jones Center, send one invoice monthly, but the comptrollers is splitting it through 3 different line items. So one is for the lease of the building, and the other is for the common area maintenance and utilities and the internet. So although we budgeted all under one line item, it's being split between 3. And so now we're short under other professional services to pay for our ankle monitor services, a caseworker that we pay, and also for any instructors that will be sending in last-minute invoices for our diversion programs. And then today's last-minute entry that we sent in, we just noticed that we are in the red in a couple line items, or 3 line items that we didn't budget enough for. One is mileage, one is fuel, and that's because we have 2 vehicles where we use for transportation for our youth to various diversion programs. And also court-appointed attorneys. Judge Zimmerman has to sometimes appoint counsel to parents that can't afford it. And although we budgeted, I think, about $2,500, we've gone over on that line item.
Are there any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve these line item transfers? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd move that that item be on a consent agenda.
Okay. John Luther, you have some items.
Vote on it.
What? Oh, we didn't vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Mr. Luther. Passed.
I apologize, I don't have those in front of me, so, Ms. Patty, have you got a copy I can look at? Okay, I worked with staff last week on these. I was out of town. We worked on this on the phone, and she made these requests. Were sent up to Jennifer. As you can see, there were some things that we didn't anticipate because we didn't know we were going to be vacating the old EOC, as you guys know, and then obviously making that available to CSU, which has been a good thing. And so can't plan for it if you don't know you're going to do it. When you look at the liability on the urban search and rescue truck, I don't know if you were at the Christmas celebration the other day. I think that if you were there, you probably saw it sitting outside. It's a pretty good-sized vehicle that takes up a lot of roadway. We got that obviously on grants, but once we insure that on the county, our fleet liability jumps up because obviously we're liable for that cost there. And memberships to various associations, and then fees to go to conferences and to training and things. I've served for many years on the State 911 board and have come off of that. I will say, when I was on that, there were things that I go to on behalf of Washington County, but I could also go on behalf of that board, and that board funded that. And so early in the year, I spoke to the judge and said, look, we'll continue to attend these things. The county wants me there, but in the past, I've been able to be funded because I covered both. And now we don't have that option, so some costs have gone up. One of the guilty parties that goes to training and makes certain that he keeps his skill set good is in the back of the room, so if we want to throw some blame back there, Kyle Curry's in the back, and I hope you guys will certainly point him out and blame him for some of that. But it's just, we don't know from year to year which members of our search team are going to need to go get dog certifications, cave rescue, attend a conference. We went to the International Emergency Management Conference, I guess week before last, at the request of some folks to help with the project. And while we were there working on that project with that group, another large training group from Texas asked us to come speak at their conference next year. So from time to time, you can't really plan for what will my travel cost exactly be. So that's why those are up, and I think they'll always be somewhat dynamic. But anyway, if you have any more specific questions, I can try to
All
help
of these
you.
things look like
Legitimate.
things come up
Yes, ma'am.
and change, so
They do.
Do I hear a motion to grant these line item requests? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
And put it on the consent agenda, okay.
Vote, call the vote
I did.
for the consent.
Oh, for the consent agenda. Everybody in favor of putting on the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, we're ready for number 7, 7.1. Someone want to speak to this? An ordinance appropriating the total amount $46,701 from unappropriated reserves and various general fund to various budget and line items for 2020. Are these the raises that were given? Okay. All right. Suki.
Yeah, we have not, thank you, Madam Chair, we have not actually passed these salary increases, and one of them was outright voted down. So I'm really unsure why we have this ordinance in front of us in the state that it's in.
Okay, someone want to speak to this? Mr. Gales? Yes.
Point of inquiry, just because I
Just
was
a minute.
absent. Point of inquiry, because I was absent. Were these ordinances separated at the last Quorum Court? So would you mind explaining what was separated? And were they
Each individual was separated.
I think she wants to know the status too.
J.P. Madison?
There were 4 different raises that were all voted on separately with separate ordinances. 3 of the 4 were left on, only made it through first reading and are on second reading next week. One of the raises for the county attorney failed at 7-7.
Judge Wood, would you like to speak to this, please? I couldn't hear what he said.
I'd move to postpone these until after we vote in December.
It's on the agenda for the Quorum Court? Okay, so we don't need to act on it if it's on, okay.
You guys put it on one reading, some of them made it first reading, the others will go back on.
Okay, so, okay,
Just postpone. Most of them are postponed.
okay, I have a motion to postpone.
I second.
All right. we'll
Motion to postpone until after we
7.1.
voted in, after we
Uh,
voted in
Would one person talk at once, and then some
I'm-
of us could understand the conversation, Chair?
Well, I'm sorry. Thank you.
It was my motion, so I just was curious if I could state it again for clarity.
Yes, please.
The motion is to postpone 7.1 until after the vote in the December Quorum Court meeting, which would mean this would be on the Finance and Budget agenda in January.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, all those opposed, raise your hand. All right, it failed to postpone it. Now, do I have a motion?
I move we pass 7.1.
All right, we have a motion to pass, okay. 7.1, do I have a second? Mr. Johnson?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not understand how we can pass this ordinance when one of the raises that's in here at the tune of over $30,000 was voted down by the Quorum Court. So this ordinance is completely inaccurate and not appropriate.
J.P. Jenkins.
It says, it states in the ordinance, in the first whereas, the Quorum Court has approved salary increases for employees of the county judge that were not included in the 2020 budget. They were not approved. Not all of these were approved. This is a matter of going back and looking at the record. This ordinance is inaccurate.
J.P. Pond.
Point of clarification. All right, I'm just asking, did this raise actually get totally voted down, or did they just not have, I mean, didn't we have a majority, but it wasn't a big enough majority to pass?
One of them had 10, the other, then the rest of them were passed.
Yeah.
7-7? Was it 7-7? Yes. I don't remember. Yes, J.P. Madison.
3 of the 4 raises obtained a majority, but not 10 votes to pass for an appropriation ordinance on first reading. They therefore advanced to second reading, will be next Thursday. The county attorney's raise failed at 7-7. J.P. Ecke was absent. For an ordinance to pass, it requires a majority of 8. 8 votes would have moved it to second reading next week. It only got 7. I think if the committee is going to consider this, these 4 raises need to be severed. And I don't think you can have 4 raises that are being individually considered and then all of them lumped into one. So I would move to sever the 4. They were severed at Quorum Court. They're not severed here. So I would move to sever the Article 1 into 4. General Services, Grant Administrator, County Attorney, and Veteran Services.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to pass. All right, and a second. Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Can I make
Yes.
a motion to amend?
Yeah, you can make a motion to amend.
I would like to make a motion to amend this ordinance. Can we? Yes. Can we strike the words has approved and replace with considered? Whereas the Quorum Court considered salary increases for employees?
I have a motion to amend to put the word consider in line, which line? All right.
Strike has approved.
And consider, the Quorum Court will consider increases for, okay. For employees of the county judge, there were not included in the 2020 budget. Okay. I have an amendment. Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
All right, I have a second to that amendment. All right, now, is there any discussion? If not, we're going to vote. Yes.
I think it should be, I'll make a motion to amend. You can have 2 motions to amend on the floor at the same time. If it's going to say anything, it should be correct and say we've considered and 1 failed. I don't know how we approve a raise that we declined. So if we're trying to be accurate, we need to say that we considered salary increases for employees of the county judge, declined to approve 1, and 3 remain on second reading.
All right, we have a second amendment. All right,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I have a question. If these are technically before the Quorum Court now, why are they on this agenda? I mean, 1 failed, and the other 3 on second reading. It has no business being back in committee.
I don't know why they're on the agenda, but they're on the agenda, so therefore we're out
You
of.
didn't put them on the agenda?
I looked at it, yes, but I didn't put it on, no.
Oh. As
I mean,
chair.
I approved it, so it's on there.
May I speak to that?
Yes.
The original ordinances that were considered last month were to be put into the budget, but now the budget has been passed with these ordinances left out, and now the budget needs to be amended with these ordinances, and that's what this ordinance does.
So we are
okay,
amending the budget
just a
for
minute.
2020.
Okay. If I understood the original ordinances, it was for the current budget of 2019. Those increases were for 2019. So if those budgets are in the 2019, then it would carry over. If they get paid a 1 month's salary in December, everybody's saying no, but I'm saying that's in the 19 budget, therefore they don't need to be, they're already in the 19 budget, so the money will come out of the carryover. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so even if we were amending this budget, amending the budget to include these salaries, as JP Deacons had just mentioned, to include these into the 2020 budget, you're still amending a salary that did not pass. It didn't
Okay.
JP Harbison.
Technically,
JP Harbison.
yes.
The way I understand, the county attorney explained to me that it didn't matter. It just didn't get enough to go to second reading. It doesn't matter the count. And so he explained to me that it will be on next month's agenda for second reading.
Okay, but why are we voting
Until
on?
the final vote.
Okay.
Then that's when it could fail.
Okay, we have two motions on the floor.
How does a motion that failed advance to second reading? Somebody explain that to me. A motion that failed, an ordinance that failed to pass is being put on an agenda on second reading?
The way that was
7 out of
explained to
15
me.
is a failure.
The way it was explained to me, that it has to have 3 readings to pass. And if it passes on the 3rd reading, then that's the final reading and that's final.
It
The
doesn't
other
get to 2.
don't count.
It doesn't get to 2. An appropriation ordinance only has to go through 1 reading and requires 10 to pass. If it garners a majority, 8 or 9, it advances to second reading. But if it failed at 7, it does not advance to second reading. That's a matter of state law in terms of how you vote. An ordinance that fails cannot be considered a second time on a second reading.
Well, that's not the way it was explained to me.
Well,
so-
perhaps we shouldn't be getting advice from the person that wants the raise.
Well, I didn't get, okay. We can discuss this all night. Right now, we have 2 motions to amend this ordinance. And so the last motion that we had a second on is the first one we vote on, correct? All right. Okay, the motion was, whereas the Quorum Court will consider increases for employees of the county. Okay, and what did you enter in there?
I don't think either motion received a second. Mine didn't, so I withdraw it.
I think,
Mine did.
yes.
JP.
All right. I think, I thought JP, Sue Madison seconded it. Did you?
No.
No, he seconded, Sam seconded.
She withdrew the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. The motion is, whereas a Quorum Court will consider increases for employees of the county judge that were not included in the 2020 budget. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, All right, it passes. All right, now, we go back to the,
I would like to make my motion to sever, which is a proper motion when there's another motion on the table. We need to sever these 4 different raises into 4 different votes.
Second.
all right. All right, I have a motion on the floor to sever each person the 4 raises in this ordinance. And there is a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. It passes. All right, so they are severed. All right, public comment. Okay, state your name, please.
Brandy Weaver from Prairie Grove, Arkansas. I was at the November meeting to where the raise was voted against the attorney. So how is that being brought back up when it failed? Why is it here? Why are you guys doing this here when it failed? The Quorum Court already voted against it. And she even said, state law says you cannot, it does not go on to a second reading. That's state law. The county doesn't have overstate on that. You guys need to abide by the state law. The raise failed, it needs to stay failed. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, thank you. All right, we're down to number 8, an ordinance to establish the additional motor Fuel Tax Fund Act 416 of 2019 and to declare an emergency. And that's 8.1, that was,
J.P. Harbison, have we voted to send this to Quorum Court? That was just a sever, right?
we severed, well, it passed. So, do
sever.
I have a motion to send the, number 7? Severed to the Quorum Court? Number 7 severed.
Point of order, the motion to sever was to require us to have 4 individual votes in committee.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand that in that way. Okay. Now, I will, Patty, do you have those 4 positions? Are they listed? But they're not. That's not. Wait a minute. 7.1. Salary. See, that's just generals. Full-time. We can't vote on that. We have to have it. That's not severed. Total amount for, okay, from unappropriated in the general fund. What did, let's see. Grants administrator.
This is
and
purchasing.
which one was that?
Purchasing.
Oh, purchasing, that's right, I forgot. I'm sorry. Okay, and this is the, that was
The
the,
other ones are pretty self-explanatory.
yeah, okay. To Article 1 on page 20. The general service was the purchasing agent. That includes, all right, do I have a motion to pass the purchasing agent's increases? Okay,
I actually voted to sever,
right.
but it was not stated that I was voting to sever it here and now. I was under the assumption that it would be severed when it came to the full quorum court.
I was under that same impression, but the maker of the motion said that was not her intent.
Wait a minute. That was not my motion. I didn't have to have an intent. The motion was to sever the motion that was before the court, or before the committee, into 4 parts for each of the 4 individual raises that was considered. We
Okay.
still have to vote on those. We just don't vote on them as one package. We vote on them each individually and decide whether to send them on to the quorum court for general services, for the grants administrator, for the county attorney, and for veteran services.
Madam
everybody
Chair, I
clear?
move to pass them all 4 of them to the full quorum court, all 4.
That is not severed.
That's out of order. The motion to sever is already passed. The motion to sever's effect in passing was to split
All
the
right.
pending motion into 4. We don't need a new motion or a new second, as the
Okay.
pending motion
Madam
was split.
All
Chair,
right,
I'd like to
now,
withdraw
on
my vote for
ex-
to sever.
What?
I'd like to withdraw my vote to sever.
You can't do that.
I'd like to make a motion
Madam
to
Chair,
revote.
I don't think we can,
Yes.
I really don't think you can
We
do
can-
that.
but-
I'd like to make a
point of-
motion.
we can
Okay,
both,
we're gonna vote
we
on-
can vote to re-vote this if we voted for it under a assumption
No,
that
you would
we're,
have to vote against it.
There's another motion on the floor.
both of us voted for it.
Right. What motion's on the floor? The
I make a
on-
motion to adjourn.
Second.
No,
We got
We're
things
not-
to do.
we've got too much to do. All right, we got a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor of adjourning and not doing the, all those in favor of adjourning, raise your hand. All right, all those opposed to adjourning, raise your hand. We're not adjourned. Okay.
Madam Chair, point of order. The motion on the floor is the motion that's been severed. And
Yes.
that's the only motion.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only motion. All right. So we will need to vote on these individually. All right. General services was purchasing. Do I hear a motion to approve this? I don't need them. If we severed it, why do I not need a motion?
We severed the motion to approve them all into 4,
Right.
so there doesn't need to be another motion. We need
All
to
right.
call, okay.
That's what I thought I was trying to do, is to vote on them separately.
But we don't need a new motion.
Okay. All those in favor of general services purchasing agent, raise your hand. Is yours up or down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Passes. And sent on to the quorum court. Grants administrator, raise your hand. All those in favor? Ten. Passes. All right, the next one is the attorney. All those in favor, raise your hand. Seven. All those opposed? Did you not vote?
I did. I voted to approve or to pass.
All right. All right, it passes 6-7.
What?
7-6, I mean. All right, all those in favor of the attorney's salary, raise your hand, please, and let me get, raise your hand. Are you in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're voting for? Yes. Okay, that's 8. All those against, raise your hand. 4, 5, 6. All right, it passes 8-6. What?
One more? You have one more.
Oh, veteran service, I'm sorry. All those in favor of the veteran services, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Passed. All right. Let's go. Let's get through this. All right, we're ready. On the fuel tax, an ordinance to establish the additional motor fuel tax fund, Act 416 of 219, and to declare an emergency. 8.1, this is being required by the state to do this. Do I have a motion to pass
Motion to
this?
pass.
All right.
Move to pass.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
I'm gonna ask a question.
All right.
Is this for the road department?
Yes.
When did they start having to pay road tax?
No, that's not what it is.
Tell me what it is.
This is the revenue that, excuse me, this is the revenue that's coming in on the special governor's additional tax, and it's our portion that we will be receiving. It is as part of that condition and law that was stated for him to collect it. It must be set up in a special fund. That's what this is doing, and it must be tracked and reported in the same clarification as the CSU and other things that are specially mandated by our governor.
All right. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Pass. All right, now we're ready to go to the next. An ordinance reducing the amount of $534,826.92 from various budgets and appropriating said $534,826.92 to various line items in the road department's budget. All right.
Motion to move to pass.
All right, do
to
I
the
have a
full Quorum
second?
Court for approval.
All right, discussion. Bobby, Mr. Hill. That's not it.
Is this what it says?
This is,
This is still wrong.
What?
This is still wrong.
No, that's not what we have in our packet, I don't think. Is it?
this is what I have, so if you have something updated, then that's probably correct.
Well, I have. All right, it is 9.1.
Well, I have the old one. Is there a later one? There should be one.
No, it has not been corrected. This one in my, and I got that last night, so, okay.
This is, I mean, this is.
Do we have the corrected? Okay.
Do what? Article 1 talks about the FEMA budgets. That's what this does. It needs to come out of road unappropriated reserves, not the FEMA budgets.
All right, so it should be, there is hereby reduce the total amount of $511,281.89 from the road,
Road Department reserves, unappropriated reserves.
from the road park department unappropriated reserves. Do I have a motion to change that?
I accept that as a friendly amendment.
All right.
His suggestion.
Well, we'll have, since it's not in here, we have to approve it, so,
Motion to adopt the treasurer's language to the ordinance.
all right, do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, is there any further discussion? Okay,
Bobby, you
Mr.
said
Lo-
that money was in their account, it just need to be moved. Is that-
Well, I mean, it won't be moved, but they have plenty of money.
They have plenty of money, that's
They're
the
just
question.
running out of
Okay.
budget money.
Thank you.
all right. Oh, did I vote on that? Oh, okay, all right, thank
We
you.
have to vote.
It's been a long day. Okay,
We had a voice vote.
Oh, we have.
yeah, we had a vote.
amendment, right?
That was for the
Okay,
amendment.
that was, yeah, okay, we need to go, we amended it and corrected it, now we need to go back and vote on the
Motion to
ordinance.
pass
To
to-
pass the
yes.
ordinance as amended.
And I can say that this is very important because they won't make payroll if this is not passed.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion passed. All right, number 10.
Madam Chair, I move to put this on the consent agenda.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. All right. We are on number 10. An ordinance reducing $414,702 in the asphalt line item in the road department's budget for 2020 and appropriating said $414,702, okay, to the other professional service items, service line item in the additional Fuel Tax Act 2019 fund for 2020. Is that correct, Mr. Charles? It is. All right. Do I have a motion?
I move that we pass this on to the full quorum court on the
All right.
consent agenda.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. An ordinance transferring $10,000 within the professional service category in the JDC budget for 2019. And that's 11.1.
I move that we pass this on to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation consent agenda.
All right. Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. Yes. All right. Public comment. We have any public comment tonight? Yes. Wait a minute.
One more ordinance, I think we have.
Oh, do we?
Do we have another one?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All right, would you come to the podium and give your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is Nathan Nailing. My address is 2919 North Adams Road, Fayetteville. Less of a comment and more of a question for the court, and it's purely out of ignorance. But I've talked to several GPs about the possible pavement of my road. It's a very narrow strip of road, very dangerous. The weather washes it away. There's buses that drive on it. It's virtually impossible for two cars to pass one another in areas. And the residents on it have increased by 50% in less than 3 years, and it's only going up with construction. It's right outside of Fayetteville city limits. And I've kind of just come in some blocks on the process with the road department and the budgeting and how that needs to work, and I just need some advice on what the next step is for that.
Charles Ward.
Which road did you say it was?
Adams Road.
We've been looking into that.
Okay.
And we're trying to get it.
Wait a minute. We don't have that. We're at Quorum Court. I mean, we're here. You gotta talk up there
Okay.
if you're gonna talk.
We're actually taking your road into advisement. We're starting to look into it now. We've already got a set schedule as far as what we're doing, so it's probably not a 2020 project. However, we could probably do some upgrades to it, but as far as getting it paved next year. But we are looking into working on it. Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, thank you.
All right. Any other public comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.